Tony Stark, the man, the myth, the absolute chaos machine with a goatee. Let's not kid ourselves. The MCU as we know it exists because Robert Downey Jr. was Iron Man. He wasn't just playing Tony, he became him. He gave us a hero who wasn't born super, wasn't chosen by a hammer, and wasn't injected with Patriot juice. No, Tony was just a guy with a brain, a bunker full of guilt, and enough free time to tinker out a new world of superness. Iron Man was the perfect mix of swagger and sincerity. His story was messy in the best way. A man who started out profiting from war and ended by sacrificing himself to stop it. He evolved, he wrestled with trauma, he made mistakes, and then built 800 versions of an iron suit to avoid dealing with them like a normal person in therapy. And we loved him for it. He was flawed, but always tried to do better. So naturally, when Marvel introduced Ironheart as the next genius inventor to build herself her own suit, expectations were high. Fans weren't asking for a carbon copy of Tony Stark, but we were hoping for something that at least felt like it was coming from the same emotional universe. Actually, I don't think fans were asking for this at all. I would have much rather enjoyed a story following his daughter, Potts, Happy, or even his bestie, Rhodey. But we got Riri, whose only claim to power is she can kind of build the suit. What we got feels off. It's like trying to honor Iron Man's legacy without fully understanding what made it work in the first place. Let me put it this way. Iron Man was a gourmet meal made from emotional depth, character flaws, witty dialogue, and the occasional robot fistfight. Ironheart feels like someone watched a TikTok summary of the first edition of the Iron Man comic, said cool suit, and ran with it. Like, honestly, I can't stress this enough. Her character within this universe makes actually no sense. Yes, she has some baggage. Yes, she has some trauma. She has a journey of enlightenment she eventually gets to, but like, it all just felt so forced. And the concept isn't the problem. On paper, she's cool. A teenage chick who's such a super fan of Tony, she nerded out all her life and made her own suit. That's a killer setup. That should be compelling. That should be inspiring. The writing doesn't do her justice at all. She's introduced as this hyper-competent genius, which is great, but without flaws, struggles, or any real internal conflict. It just falls flat. She builds a suit, evades the government. I mean, government's not even looking for her, which is a whole nother rant. But she cracks wise jokes and keeps going, all at 15. At this rate, she'll invent faster than light travel by season 2 and still have time for calculus homework. Like, it just makes no sense. Let's break this down. She's a super fan of Tony, yet one of the first few things we hear from her is complaining he is a billionaire. I'm sure you've all seen the clips. And he had everything given to him. Like, okay, that makes no sense. She creates her own suit and is flying around in episode 1. Y'all remember when Tony made a suit and had the whole government bring his ass to court? They demanded he give up the technology because they wanted it, but he was able to show how no one else in the world, not even Hammerhead technology, was even close to achieving it. Okay, so why isn't there like an army of lawyers, or more accurate, an evil government agency raiding her apartment for her suit? She was literally flying around the city. They think everyone in Chicago don't have social media? Like, what is this? So Tony Stark had to get kidnapped, thrown in a cave by terrorists, and give himself open heart surgery with a car battery before he even figured out how to walk in the Mark 1. I know, he didn't plug the car battery thing in. It was his doctor or scientist friend, but you get my point. Then when he came back, he was haunted. He doubted himself. He pissed off his friends, destroyed his personal life, and built a flying murder robot by accident. Growth. Who else remembers the scene where he's just chilling on the couch, tinkering with his suit, and watching the news, and realizing he can single-handedly help millions and destroy his weapons at the same time? Tony was relatable. He had flaws. When we first meet him, he's a rich billionaire who throws away world awards and sleeps with a new floozy every night. Sure, he is profiting from war, but he has the moral conscience that at least his side are the good guys. He sees the bad guys are using his weapons to terrorize innocents, so he shuts down his own company, and his friends are pissed. So he finds a better way. He uses his brand new suit and flies out and destroys them himself. He takes responsibility, something his character had literally never had to do in his life. That's what made Tony relatable, not just the genius, but the cost of being a genius. Riri, on the other hand, feels like Marvel skipped the part where you earned being a hero. It's like they handed her the keys to a Ferrari, but forgot to write the driver's ed course. And hey, we're not saying every hero needs to suffer a life-altering trauma to be interesting, but at least give them some meaningful obstacles. Something more than, ow, poor me, my friend died in a drive-by, or something. They flash back to her friend dying so many times, and I don't think we ever find out what caused it. So yeah. The show also weirdly pretends to be faithful to Iron Man's legacy, but doesn't seem to understand what legacy is. Tony wasn't just the suit. In fact, he spent a lot of time wrestling with whether he should even be in the suit. That's what the third movie was entirely about. He struggled with accountability, with ego, with the fear of becoming obsolete. That's drama, that's stakes, that's what makes a legacy worth inheriting. Ironheart, her struggles feel more like checklists. Quirky best friend, check. Quick speech about identity and being your own hero, check. Gets kicked out of the most prestigious school in the world because she couldn't just sit down and listen for an hour a day, check. Cool, this show sure is awesome. One of the parts that irritate me the absolute most is the scene she's getting kicked out of school. She says how they are trying to keep her down because she's black. Okay, not even touching that, not getting into the politics. But then she says how she has to teach the teachers. Like, okay, when we first see Tony, he is already an adult. He has already been through this process. Who genuinely thinks Tony would have sat there and studied? Like, no. He knew everything the teachers knew too. He didn't get his father's company until after this process. Sure, he was probably still semi-famous, but the idea that everyone just gave him a free pass is insultingly dumb. He had to play along in the stupid system and eventually was able to show his genius was far superior to anyone else's. Riri just complains that no one instantly respects a 15-year-old, and it's just the worst. I feel like this was written by people who had to Google what genius means, or who got their writing degree out of the Cracker Jacks. I mean, even the name Ironheart implies emotional weight. Where's the heart? Where's the part where Riri doubts herself? Where's the moment she looks in the mirror and wonders if she's becoming the very thing she's fighting against? Like Tony did, repeatedly, while bleeding out and making dad jokes. Sure, she has moments she is sad. She is emotionally distraught and on collapse of a mental breakdown, but like, these are all things she literally caused herself. Becoming a criminal, literally letting a man die, a man she was having a drink with 2 hours earlier, her PTSD trauma from seeing a gun, like, okay, whatever. But outside those very few moments of weakness, she is so damn one-dimensional. Always right, power-headed. She doesn't prove she is right with trial and error, she just is. She demands she is right, and if you disagree, it's because you were holding her back. It really pains me because that is literally in the show. Like, it's not even hyperbole. It's like quite literally in the first or second episode that if anyone disagrees with her, they're just trying to hold her back. It's like, no, dude, you're a child. Like, oh my God. Look, I don't want to sound like one of those guys yelling at clouds because a new character exists. I want Riri to be great. I want her story to be powerful, personal, and worthy of the mantle she's stepping into. But right now, it feels like Marvel slapped a car battery on a new face and hoped we'd all clap because it's the next Iron Man. They need real writers. People who have actually seen the Iron Man movies, preferably. Hell, if they are hiring writers who have not seen every MCU movie and show, I don't want them on board. Put it in the contract or something. It's like how Disney hires people for Star Wars who has to ask what what a lightsaber is. Like, bro, this space ain't for you. Please stop writing in it. I want to see Riri at her lowest. Toss a building on her like they did Peter Parker. Trap her on an alien planet like they did the Hulk. Take away her family like they did Natasha. Give us an arc from ego to humility to hero. Not pause the brakes at ego. And whoever came up with the scene where Riri had to knee the guy in the crotch just deserves to be fired out of all industry with writing. Like, I can't describe to you how bad the scene was, how little sense it made, all for a full minute drawn out conversation about a nutshot. Like, okay, again, whatever. Riri? More like rewrite the series. I stole that from my girlfriend. You're welcome. Iron Man wasn't iconic because of the tech. He was iconic because of the person inside the suit. The guy who made mistakes, tried to fix them, made new ones, and eventually laid down his life because it was the only way to save everyone. If Ironheart wants to carry that torch, or battery, I guess, then it needs to do more than just build another shiny suit. It needs to build a character we believe in, one who earns our investment the way Tony Stark did, not just by being smart, but by being human. Until then, the suit may look cool, but it's running on empty. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe and all that. Okay, bye.